Good morning. And welcome to worship here at Minnehaha United Methodist Church. We are delighted that you are here, whether you have joined us in person, and thank you for all of you who have joined us in person, or if you are worshiping with us online. And for those of you worshiping with us online, I'm imagining that you got up this morning, looked out your window, and said, wow, I think a flannel blanket and a cup of cocoa is a good idea. So we're still glad that you're here, and for those of you who are worshiping online with us and don't live in Minnesota, it was like really close to 90 most of the week, and today it's snowing. So at any rate, I am wearing tulips in my ears because once the snow melts, we will see those tulips again. So it's just a reminder that spring is coming back. At any rate, delighted that you are all here. And if you are a guest with us today, we are particularly delighted and hope that you will come back again. We have refreshments between the services. If you didn't catch that this time, we hope you'll come back next time and catch refreshments between the services. If you are here in person, please take a look at the edges of your pews and find our welcome folders there. They look like this. If you could fill those out, let us know that you're here. If you are worshiping with us online, or you just prefer to do this electronically, you can use the QR code that's on your screen, and it's also on your bulletin to let us know that you're with us this morning. There is a lot happening in the life of the church, and I see a lineup of announcements here. So Sue, you want to come on up, and I imagine you're going to tell us something about an auction that's happening next week.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Sue Claude, and I'm coordinating the spring auction that is happening next Sunday after this service. And today is my last appeal for people to make donations to the auction. And the thing that I want to tell people is that this is a skills and talents and gifts auction, and we're asking people to do a little bit of self-reflection and consider some special talent they have that they might be willing to share with other members of the church. And I think everybody has one. And so I'd like you to just think about it a little bit. If you seriously, after serious consideration, have decided you are completely talentless and completely skillless, which I highly doubt, I think you're underestimating yourself, please come and bring your checkbooks or your credit cards and participate in the auction. We have a number of items, and a lot of them are from people that have never donated to the auction. This is the third year we're doing this, by the way. Something that just came in today was Peter Ketchum is going to be auctioning a cooked meal for 6 people, and he's willing to work with people to come up with a menu, and it could be a winter, spring, fall, summer menu of your choice. So if you haven't had the opportunity to experience Peter Ketchum's cooking in the past, this is a really good opportunity because he is rocking good. Somebody else, Sharon Kimball, is going to offer up a consultation to enhance balance and fitness, targeting people over the age of 65. So you have to be 65 to bid or be bidding on this on behalf of somebody that's 65. And I think that's a great thing to offer. So my plan is to donate a wine tasting, and I'm not an expert in wine by any stretch of the imagination, but I know people at Certix who are. And so my intention is to work with someone to determine what kind of a wine tasting they'd be interested in, if it's a region or if it's a type of wine or whatever, and then consult with people at Certix and come up with bottles, and then I would come up also with information about those wines, about that region, and then subsequently appetizers to go with them. So please join us. It's a good way to share your skills with other people and get to know other members of the church a little bit better.
And there's lunch, right? And lunch, yeah, the youth are offering grilled lunch, so bring money for that as well. And it probably will be downstairs because the forecast for next weekend is not looking, anyway, we're not going to talk about that. At any rate, Jenny, you look like you have an announcement.
Hi, I'm Jenny Ammerman, here to talk about name tags, everybody's favorite topic. We are encouraging everybody to wear a name tag, and as you come in, there's a welcome center, and you can make a stick-on name tag, or you could make a permanent name tag, and then you could keep your permanent name tag in one of these manila envelopes that is in one of those blue boxes, because if you're like me, you take your permanent name tag home and you forget to bring it back. So anyway, I have made some new envelopes for people who maybe are newer during COVID. If you need an envelope, there's a pad of paper out there. Please write your name down and I will get you an envelope. And we just are encouraging you to wear name tags, and you can include your pronoun if you would like to, and then we'll be able to call you what you would like to be called. So if you have questions, track one of us down. Thank you.
Great, thank you. All right. Just, this is not in the paper announcements, and I will write up more about this, but just in your heads, you can set aside the morning of June 3rd. We're going to have we'll look at our nominations slate, people who are serving on committees for the upcoming program year. We'll vote on that. But then we're also going to have an opportunity to remind ourselves how to greet one another and welcome in new folks and be generally hospitable. So we'll have a training for that, and that's for everybody, because the more of us that do that, the better we're going to be at this. So that will also be part of the morning on June 3rd. So a meeting and a training, and then probably an opportunity for committees to gather together. So just put that in your head calendar. All right, today it is United Women in Faith Sunday. And so we're celebrating that. The composers of the music are all women. And we have Tanya Brownlow, who's going to talk with us about Emma Norton resonance, but you have to wait a little bit to hear from her. At any rate, it's a lovely morning. So if you would please rise in body or spirit for our call to worship. The God of mission reminds us once again to seek God's kingdom first. The God of grace summons us back to God's kingdom as the goal and purpose of our lives. We worship the God of faith, hope, and love, who fits us all for God's own mission in the world. And our opening song is God of the Women.
Well, hello everybody. I am Maureen Trepp. You've seen me in this service before, asking you to do things. And today I am representing your UWF. Now you're saying to yourself, UWF, I thought it was UMW. It's been UMW for decades. And then with our mix-up of what's going on in the United Methodist Church, they changed it internationally to UWF, United Women in Faith. And I'll probably get that wrong several times during the morning. But that is the name of our organization, which means the same organization that in the past have done so much. In the past, and where have we been, what have we doing? We support missions for women and children, internationally, nationally, locally. And that is a main reason that we have United Methodist Women. What else did we do? If you grew up in the Methodist Church, you maybe remember Mom going off to Circle. I do. My mom was at Circle often. That was a place that she found a socializing spot, a place that she could have be with women of her age or her type, or people who are interested in what she was interested, get out of the house. And the Circles also often employed a program that was originated and is still originated by UWF and is available to everyone, looking at different places that need services, incarceration, criminal justice, many different areas, environmental justice, many areas are explored through the study programs that are originated with United Women in Faith. What else do we do? Those studies, we also have, as an organization, a huge book list for readings that go with those and books that go with those. And guess what? A lot of those books are sitting over in that little library you've maybe never even gone in. So go in and check out a book. It's really easy, as in take it off the shelf and enjoy it. And that is another place that UWF has worked. Support of missions has been a top goal of United Women in Faith. So what are we now? Well, we don't have circles anymore. We do have people who help out and work in the community and serve the community. And yes, we've been known as a fundraising group for many, many years, but the funds from that fundraising group are all going to those missions. We also are very proud of the fact that we have created a new set of Jenny Help Me goals for our organization, and they are posted on the Minnehaha United Methodist website under the word groups. You look up United Women of Faith, but I'm going to read you the major process here, the major program of us. We are women of Minnehaha United Methodist Church, including those who identify as non-binary individuals who join together to help lift up people in our community, in our country, and throughout the world. We seek to connect people so that we can all inspire, influence, and positively impact local and global communities. Did you hear in there that we are trying to work with the whole community and bring the community into our church? In the past and now, currently, we foster community, we reduce, we recycle, and we attempt to have fun. Oh, those are just fun things to do. I know you know that. And how do we do it? Not just the fundraising. We bring into the community, to our church building, the process of bringing people in is through our rummage sale, through our bazaar, through our annual all-church musical. And we also have a night out happy hour that we hope is attended by women and men. We serve at Simpson Shelter specifically, and we serve funeral, birthday, and wedding receptions here at the church when they are needed. You know, there's a lot of churches that can't do that anymore, but we are a strong organization that offers that as a service. Over the years, this has happened in the past. We were the ones who had the plant sale. We had fashion shows. We had salad luncheons. We had programs. We had the sit-down players who, I don't think anybody here was in the sit-down players, but they were a fun group of people, and they met here. We had circles that met in homes and in churches, field trips, and we, as a group, have attended the National General Assembly of United Women in Faith. And we're very proud of being the people that we are. And that doesn't mean you're not going to be one of those people. So think about it. Be a part of our rummage sale, our annual bazaar. Come to the night out, and those will be posted for where they are. But we have them locally so we can get that gang at at Nakoma Square to just walk on over for those evenings or afternoons. Your leadership team for this, we have 3 of us here this morning. Jenny Ammerman is in the leadership team, Shar Johnson, I am Maureen Trepp, Kim Canute, Margaret Rawson, oh, we have 4 of us, and Kitty Campbell, right up there. So, and we're if you have any ideas, you want something done, let us know, because we are serving you also. Thank you.
All right, I invite the children to come on up, and anyone feeling young at heart, to come on up and join me on the steps. Jean Elliott's on vacation this week, so I get to talk to you. Come on up. Good morning. How are you all this morning? Yes, we are a small group today, but you look like you're ready for the snow. So how many of you are happy that it's snowing out? Anybody happy that it's snowing? Kind of, maybe you're not happy that it's snowing. You're happy that it's snowing? Well, I'm glad somebody is happy that it's snowing. I know, I want it to be spring too, I know. All right, so I'm going to tell you all a story this morning. And this is a story that happened really long time ago, like over 100 years ago, really long time ago. So, really long time ago, there was a woman who was a doctor. And she felt like God was calling her, God was asking her to go overseas and to be a doctor for people in a country that didn't have a lot of doctors. And she wanted to go to India to be a doctor. People who do that are called missionaries. So she went to the group of people who send missionaries. Who do you think was making decisions for that group of people who sent missionaries? Way long time ago, over 100 years ago. Were there any women in that group? No, it was just a group of men. So she went to that group of men and she said, I would like to go to India. And you know what they told her? Do you think they let her go? No, they didn't let her go. Because she was all by herself. They said, we don't send women by themselves to places like India. And she said, but there are women and girls in India who need a doctor. And they said, we don't send them. So did she then not go? Right, because she felt called by God. God was asking her to do this. So she found a group of women who would help raise money so that she could go to India and be a doctor. And that group of women grew and got bigger, and they discovered there were other women who wanted to go to other countries and be missionaries. And that whole group organization formed to send women as missionaries. And that group eventually became known today as United Women in Faith. Now, since then, I mean, that was such a long time ago. Since then, the people who make those decisions are not all men anymore. They've got women in that group too, and women can go and be missionaries through that group. But the United Women in Faith continues to be an organization because they want to make sure that women and girls, and because the world has changed, non-binary people are all getting supported and helped and made sure that everybody knows that God calls each and every one of us. So that's what we're celebrating today. We're celebrating how it is that God is calling each and every one of us. So we're going to give thanks for that. So here's how we're going to do our prayer this morning. Can you take your hands and put them with the palm facing up? And the palm is going to go up instead of toward each other, up, to remind ourselves that we're paying attention to God. All right, so let's be in a spirit of prayer. God, we thank you that you continue to call to each and every one of us. Help us to listen. Amen. Thank you all, and you can go back to your seats, and if everybody would please share the peace of Christ with one another. I invite you to find your way back to your seats. And we are going to enter into our intentional time of prayer together. So if you take a look at the bulletin at the second page, you'll see the folks there that we are holding in our prayers. And so we are holding in our prayers Bev Young. She went home after Easter service last week and then fell. And she had to be hospitalized for a couple of days, but she is back home again and healing slowly. So prayers for Bev, and they're going to work on adjusting some of her medications so that she doesn't get dizzy and fall. So prayers for Bev as she heals from that. You also notice that we're holding in our prayers Peggy Anderson, whose sister died about a week and a half ago, and Peggy was able to spend some time with her sister before her death. But prayers for Peggy and her extended family as they grieve the death of her sister. And then we did receive word last night that Elaine Fredericks did die yesterday. So Elaine had just turned 97 earlier this month. Prayers for her extended family as they grieve her death. There will be a service for her, but we're still sorting out details and location, and once we know all of that, we will let you know. And then, do you have joys or concerns, things that you would like us to be holding in prayer? Raise your hand. I can come find you at the microphone.
Our dear friend, mine and the kids and my husband, Joshua, he's a 17-year-old boy that we've known since he was about a third grader, and he is currently awaiting a new pair of lungs for a double lung transplant. This will be his second lung transplant. His first one was in 2020 in the heart of the pandemic when he was 14. So he and his mom, Kelly, are hanging on by their fingernails right now in the ICU. So we would love prayers for them.
So prayers for Joshua and his mom, Kelly. Yeah. Are there others?
Our house was a little sad this week. We put our dog down on Friday. So she's almost 16. So it had been a good run, but tough last week. And so tough week at our house. So prayers especially for my children.
Yeah, and I mean, it's great that she's 16, but the hard thing about 16 is, right, you had her for 16 years. Yeah, well, we'll hold you all in prayer. Are there others? Well, we also hold in our prayers people broader than our own community. And so our siblings in the Orthodox Church are celebrating Easter today, and so we hold them in prayer. They're a little jealous that we had a lovely Sunday last week and they get snow this week, but they'll probably have the reverse next year. So, because their Easter is in May next year and ours is in March. So, at any rate, we hold them in prayer. We also hold in our prayers all of those communities that are making flood preparations now. And we hold in our prayers the people of Louisville, who have now had 2 mass shootings in the last week. So prayers for all of those who are hospitalized, all of those who are grieving the loss of loved ones, and everybody in that community who is traumatized by this violence. We also hold in our prayers the people of Sudan. 2 military groups in Sudan are fighting for control, and they're doing it in the capital city, and there are civilians caught in the middle of that. So prayers for all of those who are facing violence that they don't even know which side it's coming from or how to seek safety. Prayers that the violence comes to an end and that there is some sort of peaceful resolution of power in Sudan. And so holding all of these and many other things in our hearts, I invite us to join our voices together in our morning prayer. Eternal God, we have gathered here in your sanctuary this morning as members of your family to worship you as our living God. Community-making God, you have called us to be in community with each other. Enable us to center ourselves for renewal in your presence, commitment to your mission, and ministry with the least of these here and around the world. Equip us with your Holy Spirit to witness to your love and power, healing and reconciliation, nurturance and new life. Inspire us once again to be the tellers of the old story in ever new contexts, that Jesus has come so that all may have life, in fact, more than life, life in its fullness through Jesus the Christ. Amen. Let us be in a time of silent prayer. Oh God, we give you thanks. We give you thanks for flowers that are blooming even with a little bit of snow on them. We give you thanks for trees that are budding with new leaves. We give you thanks for all of the living things that are moving through our community. And we give you thanks for our community. Oh God, help us to see your presence in the midst of that, in all of the new life, in all of the things that we gather together to do. And our prayers, oh God, are also for all of those people and all of that life, for the goodness of your world, for the ways in which we can help keep it clean and good, and for all the ways in which we, as your community of people, experience you and also grieve with one another and celebrate with one another. Oh God, hear all of our prayers as we gather them together in the name of Jesus the Christ, who taught us to pray, our Creator, God in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
Our scripture lesson today comes from the 9th chapter of the Acts of the Apostles, verses 36 through 43. In Joppa, there was a disciple named Tabitha. In Greek, her name is Dorcas. Her life overflowed with good works and compassionate acts on behalf of those in need. About that time, though, she became so ill that she died. After they washed her body, they laid her in an upstairs room. Since Lydda was near Joppa, when the disciples heard that Peter was there, they sent 2 people to Peter. They urged, "Please come right away." Peter went with them. Upon his arrival, he was taken to the upstairs room. All the widows stood beside him, crying as they showed the tunics and other clothing Dorcas made while she was alive. Peter sent everyone out of the room, then knelt and prayed. He turned to the body and said, "Tabitha, get up." She opened her eyes, saw Peter, and sat up. He gave her his hand and raised her up. Then he called God's holy people, including the widows, and presented her alive to them. The news spread throughout Joppa, and many put their faith in the Lord. Peter stayed for some time in Joppa with a certain tanner named Simon.
Good morning. I'm Tanya Brownlow. I'm the Executive Director from Emma Norton Services, and I'm happy to be here with you this morning on UWF Sunday to tell you about who Emma Norton was and who we are as a National Mission Institute of UWF. As Becky said, UWF was really an organization that has been built by bold women. And Emma Norton was one of them. She was from the Winona area, and it wasn't only that they didn't let women go to India, but if you were growing up in outstate Wisconsin or Minnesota, and you had completed your 8th grade education and you wanted something more for your life, you couldn't come to the Twin Cities to access that unless you had a man who could escort you, your father, or a husband. And so her vision was to take some of the wealth that she had and to open something called the Methodist Home for Girls. And so that was a place where young girls could come and coming of age and become the first-time nurses and the teachers in our world, and go on to do bigger and better things. And so that is really the legacy that we still hold near and dear to us today. Of course, luckily, society has changed. But even in 1967, when one of our main buildings was built, it was still in existence then that they didn't think women could, live on their own. So it wasn't that long ago, unfortunately. But if you want to go ahead to the next slide. So now, since society has changed, we as an organization have focused on who is another group in our world that often needs supports and social services and places to live. And so who we focus on at this point are folks experiencing homelessness in our communities that also have some type of disabling condition, typically a mental health diagnosis, substance abuse use, or even just chronic health conditions. So our mission today is to provide transformational housing and growth for women and families on their journey of recovery. We, again, as aligned with UWF, have always focused on women and children, but as an organization, we are also opening up that definition of what it means to be women and non-binary and gender non-conforming, and so our programs now are open to a larger section of people that we serve. But our vision is really to be bold in how we go forward in empowering and transforming experiences for people that have experienced homelessness. So, next slide. If you could actually jump ahead to a few more. There was supposed to be some hidden, and I found out last service that they weren't being hidden. So, one more. So these are our main housing programs that we offer now. We serve about 300 people a year. I'm going to talk about each of them individually. If you could jump to the next slide. Emma Norton Residence, again, was built in 1967. It replaced that Methodist home for girls. But really what it is it has 50 people who can live in the building, up to 50. It all has shared rooms, shared bathrooms, shared lounge spaces. It's a great place for community, but it also has challenges in that the building is over 50 years old now, and it doesn't really fit with the population that we serve. But all of the folks living there receive case management services, and this new project that we have coming called Restoring Waters is going to replace this and be a great expansion into what we're able to offer. The other main program we have, if you want to go to the next slide, is known as Emma's Place. It's a townhome community in Maplewood. We have 13 families who live on site, and then we have a community building where, again, we offer case management services and services to the children that live there. Every family gets their own townhome. They pay 30% of their income for rent. To qualify, you have to have 3 or more children. But typically, living there because of the size of bedrooms and the funding, it's about 5 kids when you're moving in. So we have 65 to 80 children who live on that site at any one time alone. I heard a parent go, oh. It's a lot for, single parents. I've done the math. Children outweigh us, like even when we factor in the staff who work there, like a 1-to-4 ratio. So it's kind of crowd control, but we do what we can to support those kids. Next slide. In fact, we've done a lot to increase our youth services. We've started offering some on-site groups around youth empowerment. We have 2 full-time youth staff who just work with the kids and teach social emotional learning skills and support them in what they do. And then we're about to add actually a youth-specific case manager to, again, work with maybe kids who have deeper needs or older teens who need assistance. In fact, great story, our staff just got trained to do driver education classes. I know, talk about putting yourself in harm's way. But they recognize the need, and they're innovative in what they do. So, yeah, they've got trained, and they're going to start teaching kids driver's ed. So be careful in Maplewood. Okay, next slide. And then our newest program, which we did launch about 6 years ago, is called Scattered Site Housing. While it's great to own buildings and be able to provide housing, what we know is that doesn't allow us to grow enough. So this program, again, we work with landlords that own private rental units. We help screen people who have homeless histories, match them with landlords, help them move in, then continue to offer case management services to them in their apartments, and then work on any like landlord-tenant conflict resolution or anything that just really helps that person stay stably housed. The other thing that we have throughout our whole service delivery right now is peer specialists. So those are people who have gone through their own journey on mental health recovery and chemical dependency, and then again can work with folks in a way that's not about a trained professional, but more of a, I walked in your shoes and I know what you go through, and I'm here to offer you support and encouragement and resources to get to the next stages of your life. But like I said, I'm happy, next slide please, to talk to you. Well, this is actually a slide on the prevalence of trauma, which will help understand why we've done what we've done. As Pastor Becky was saying this morning, statistically now 70% of people in the United States have experienced some primary trauma. Youth after the pandemic are about 50%. And what we know is 100% of our clients have experienced trauma. 100% of my staff on a daily basis experience secondary trauma as we listen to the stories of the people that we serve. And it's just become more and more within our lives. So it's really defined what we do as an organization. We are a trauma-informed care, and we do put the work into that. So next slide, please. You can go through this one thing. So we are about to become, you are about to become rather one of our closest neighbors. Our building in downtown St. Paul will shut down as we move and we build into this new location called Restoring Waters that's being built in the Highland Bridge neighborhood. This will mean that no longer are people living in shared rooms, but instead have 60 units of their own apartments within this building. If you want to go to the next slide, please. This entire building has been designed with trauma-informed care principles in mind. So there are specific things that people who have experienced trauma need in terms of safety, trust, peer support, which is why we put that into a lot of our services, empowerment, areas to collaborate, and then also paying attention to culture and gender justice for those in the world who have experienced racism, sexism. We need to think about what do we put back in to really support people and hold them in a different way. So our entire new building has been designed inside and out with these principles in mind. Next slide. Next slide, please. And so you can see some of the images of the inside of the building that we are planning. But like I said, it'll be 60 total units. 56 will be designed for individuals moving in, and then 4 for small families. It will have our organizational headquarters. We'll have some rooftop spaces, a meditation room, a fitness room, a small clinic, and lots of other ample space. If you could go to the next slide. We're also planning to have all kinds of programming spaces to support people in wanting to do art, gardening, coming together as a community, like anything that, again, we know supports people in their healing and their recovery. Because it's along the waterway, people will have access to nature. That all was intentionally in the name that we chose, and that was picked by tenants, our board, staff, and really we love the name Restoring Waters because we know how it evokes that idea that water is healing, water is a big part of faith and spirituality and our history, and what we want to do. If you could go to the next slide. The other big thing, actually one more. The other big thing that we are working to build into the space is something called the living room model. So if you or family members or friends have ever experienced some type of mental health crisis, what you'll know in that process is it's not a trauma-informed care method. Typically, you end up in an emergency room. You may sit for hours. If you are not at a high level of need of hurting yourself or someone else, you don't get a lot of services other than maybe a prescription and a list of names and say, good luck. And so for folks experiencing panic attacks for the first time or overwhelming depression, they don't receive the services that they need. The living room model would be in our office spaces. It would be a one-to-one relationship. So somebody comes in and says they're in need of talking to somebody about their mental health. They literally can go into a room that's designed to look like your living room. It's got a fireplace and nice furniture. You sit down and you meet with a peer specialist and they talk to you about what's going on. They make sure that we have a clinical director on hand who can screen people for safety. And if somebody's in need of services, we help them then get to an inpatient hospitalization. But if not, they just have somebody who, again, can talk with them, walk with them, give them resources, reach out to them, and do it in a much more trauma-informed way. Next slide, please. So this is a picture of one of our parents, actually, that lives at Emma's place. And, you know, what she had said was, what I want for my kids is not to have to struggle like I had to struggle. And that's what we know about our mission every day, that it's not just about the people that we're serving, but the next generation behind that as well. Next slide. So we currently have a capital campaign going on to do all of this moving, and we want to make sure that every person moving into the building has a fully furnished apartment, has a fully furnished or fully stocked household goods. They come in with not a lot, so we want to make sure there's sheets on the bed, towels in the linen closet, dishes on the table for where they can gather and have their family. So we have that, plus we want to outfit all of these spaces with furniture for our programming initiatives, our office spaces, artwork, things again that go back into that trauma-informed design care. So we have a $3.75 million goal. I'm happy to say we've raised about $2.1 million at this point. Next slide, please. And this is where you can see a lot of it has come from. We do have a specific goal to raise $1 million from our Methodist community partners. Next slide, please. So we now are about at $425,000. Majority of that is from United Methodist churches and some UWF groups, and then some also individuals who have supported our campaign through their faith initiative. And we have a lot of congregations that are doing special Easter offerings. We have had some that have either sold their building and then given us money out of that capital campaign. So we're hopeful that in the next year we'll be able to hit that $1 million goal. Next slide. And then we do have our own gala coming up in just a couple weeks. There's information on a table in the narthex if you're interested in that and you want to know more about it. Next slide. And then also what I'm really excited about in our new building, but even currently now, we're just looking for more people to get involved with us. And in that new space, we'll be able to offer a lot more spaces for people who want to serve in mission and be with us and use your time and talents to benefit others. So if you have any questions or anything, I'll be out there to answer more of them. Next slide. And I just really want to say thank you to you all. You have, oh, one more, sorry. Nope, one more. Thank you to you all. You have all been known to us for a long time through Minnehaha and through your UWF groups, and many of your folks who attend here are major donors. So I just want to say thank you for all the work that you've done, and we're excited to partner with you even more in the future.
I really appreciate you sharing, Tina, that it was very in-depth and gives us a better idea of your new location also. We also do support several other missions. I know you've heard me talk about Simpson Shelter, which is also building a new building. So they are, of course, also looking for funding for their new building, which is quite exciting. And I also want to thank you because many of you have given us things to take with us when we do the serving, and they are very happy to get those donations. We, while you're thinking about doing your offering, or when you go home tonight and you think, well, what could I give for offering? I heard all about these missions. Down at the bottom of the program is right up here is a display of the different missions that we support. There's an envelope in your pew if you'd like to give a special offering to Emma Norton or one of these other missions that are part of our UWF program. The other thing you could do, there's some left, is take a minute where you have left out our Department 56 homes and buildings that we are selling. We'll be selling these for many years, but this is what's out there right now, and you can pick up something before you go home. And if you don't know it, they're collectibles that Bachman's has been selling for thousands of years. And we have many, many more. And there's a book out there that lists the many different collectibles that have been donated to us by an individual from the church to be sold. And if there's something in the book you like, we'll get it for you, because right now it's sitting at different leadership members' garages and basements until we bring it all in. But you'll hear about these sales over and over again. Thank you for listening today, and I believe we're ready for offering.
We dedicate our offerings just as we dedicate our entire lives to God's work in the world. All right, Maureen, are you going to say something first? Do you want me to hold that while you talk?
All right, we have a moment in our service right now, which is the UMW service, UWF service, where we want to recognize individuals who have contributed to our church community. How long have we done this? Forever. We have actually 275 individuals who have received this award, 2 to 3 a year, so it's over all those years. Becky has the list of them. I hope you can see that okay. And it goes back, I'm not sure when it started, but I'm assuming the 20s or 30s, because it's a really extensive list. On the list, we the list is created by Wanda Driver, and if you don't know her, you should. She attends the first service and has been a major force at our church over the years. She has added to the list in recent years. On the list, the reds are the ones, are folks who have received the recognition but have died. And of the 275, 93 are still with us. And I think some people in this service won this award. Becky, Jenny, we've got some other folks, Kitty behind me, Maureen, oh, Shar right here, and others that you know of. Why do you get this award? Because you did something for Minnehaha United Methodist Church or the community. And in recent years, we extended the award to folks who ran those desks back there and allowed us to stream live for many years. So today we have 2 individuals we're recognizing. One person was recognized already in the first service, and we'll begin with him. There's a 3rd individual who'll be getting an award probably at one of these services in the near future who couldn't attend today. So we're holding up one award till later. So, all right, ready? Okay, we're going to have Janice Linster come up and share the award that's already been given out.
Thanks, Maureen. So as Maureen mentioned, we honored this morning George Gallagher, and I want to share a few comments about his participation in our food shelf mission. And as I did this morning, what I thought I would do first is a quick little poll, and if you wouldn't mind raising your hands, if you've been here on a Tuesday when this church turns into the food shelf. How many of you have been here on a Tuesday? Excellent, wonderful. Well, for those of you who haven't, I'm going to paint a little bit of a picture for you of what goes on, because you will appreciate what George does if you kind of understand how this church actually transforms quite significantly on a Tuesday. So if you were to wander downstairs into the fellowship hall, that whole area turns into a grocery store on Tuesdays, like almost literally. There are tables and aisles set up with food, and there are many volunteers who, like clockwork, know exactly where to go. They show up and they start moving carts around, and they set up the room, and they start serving people, and then they take everything down. And then if you were to wander out into the narthex next door, you would see a whole nother set of volunteers who are greeting individuals, who are checking people in, who are acting as interpreters, because most of our clients do not necessarily speak English. And then if you were to look outside, you would see a lineup of people, of clients who refer to them. And while the food shelf opens at 10 o'clock, individuals start lining up at 6 o'clock in the morning. And to maybe put things into perspective, on any given week, we distribute really thousands of pounds of food, and we track over the course of just this past year as an example. On average, we served or distributed food for about 2,000 individuals each month. So again, that just kind of sets a big picture perspective on what this food mission does. Now, it doesn't happen on its own. And that's where we give George Gallagher credit. He is the leader, the orchestrator of all of this. And I'm just going to read a few things about George and what he does, because it's actually incredible. And if any of you have a chance to stop by on a Tuesday, it really moved me when I had a chance to see it in person. So George is a former grocery store manager and grocery store owner, and you kind of get that when you see what goes on every Tuesday. For the Minnehaha Food Shelf, he manages the volunteers, he organizes and transports tens of thousands of pounds of food every month, he procures food, he accepts the donated food, he works on grant requests, and meets with various businesses who also support our food shelf mission. And he does all of this with a warm smile and a few jokes for those of you who know George. We had an opportunity to chat with his daughter about some of his attributes, and she told us that she thinks of him as one of the hardest working individuals she knows, and for any of us who have seen him in action, I think we would probably agree with that. He's here, he comes in on Mondays to kind of pre-prepare for Tuesdays, then he's here from setup to take down every Tuesday. He handles all the challenges that come about, and we've had some challenges, those that I've seen being on the food shelf board, but he addresses each of these with finesse. We are very grateful for George's service, and like I said, we had the opportunity to present this to him live this morning at our 9 o'clock service. So with that, he's not here, but I'm going to give it to Charlene.
Good morning. The person that we are honoring today has been our recording secretary for the church council, has served on SPR, has served in the earliest version of the Green Team to teach us to be more eco-friendly to our planet, and has ushered at second service, has been our lay delegate to the Minnesota Annual Conference, and in May has served for 3 years, and has been working as our financial secretary for more than 4 years. The person that we are honoring today is Shirley Yeoman. Come up here. I have it on.
We would like to have you have, so you can remember this day and you put it where you want.
Thank you. Yeah. Congratulations.
Make sure and congratulate Shirley afterwards, because she loves all the attention and people crowding around her. That'll be perfect. If you would please rise in body or spirit for our closing song. She's got the whole world in her hands. I'm glad somebody's got the potholes in their hands. All right, if you would please join with me responsively in our benediction. May God, whom heaven and earth cannot contain, burst forth into new life in you. May the Holy Spirit accompany you beyond the known path, so that you may proclaim your faith and action without fear and without apology. Amen.